Hello, here we are. Last day of our love bites. How are you? This time I have vitamin C water. Probably tell my body is preparing for my cycle. So I'm feeling slower and more grounded, moving with that today. Hope you do the same. Hi, Brooke. How are you going? Hi, good. Hi, Tina. Oh, you made another live. It's good to see you. Well, see you. Good to see you. So today, to wrap up what has been an exceptionally delightful week of love bites, and don't forget, you can go back and rewatch them and you will mine new gold out of them each and every time. So how we're going to wrap up is just, I really want you to hit home the power of manifestation that you have. Hi, Astrid. How are you? So the power of manifestation that you have, you want to be the energy of that which you are seeking. So you can't seek for desire and be the energy of fuck off. Unless I suppose you're going to play that in the dark way, but that's a flip. And it's pretty hard to receive surrender or have a partner or world or construct that shows up for you so that you can surrender and let go if all you're doing is holding on. Hi, Meals. Good to see you. So you've got to remember that you're a river and feelings come in and they come out. You don't need to clamp down onto them. You don't need to hold onto them for fear that they're going to leave or they're going to stay. All you've got to do is be the water wheel. It comes through and it comes out. And when it starts to get fuzzy and crazy in your head, in your energy, when you feel overwhelmed, when it feels like it's too much, there's a few things you could do. Actually, I was going to answer that one way and then I just thought about the consults I've had today. I've had sort of 3 or 4 today, always running themes. So I might change my answer a little bit. Bear with me while I do that. So you have a choice. And I think the way I see it is you have 3 choices. You can, so we go 3, choice number 1. Probably what we're most socially conditioned to do is to move away from our heart's truth, move away from the truth at the center of our body, or the truth of the experience, or the depth of the feeling that, or the energy that's wishing to move through us. So we don't like the feeling of fear, so we find a way to move away from it. We don't like the feeling of overwhelm, so we find a way to move away from it. So in my book, I refer to this as things like cooling, soothing, suppressing, ways that we have creatively, we can laugh and almost do a self-minimization thing that means we remove ourselves a little bit from the experience of it, right? It's like a step away. So we can do that. That's choice number 1. But just remember, every time you subjugate your own feelings, every time you coerce yourself into being a shape of love, an expression of love, love being simply energy, right? The feminine is energy, felt as love, seen as light. It's energy, it's form, it's matter. It's everythingness. It's all feeling. Love isn't always sweet, though. Don't know if you know that, or if you have an expectation that it is. When we're in our masculine, probably more particularly, we would just like things to be easeful, like none of this like icky, intense, emotional stuff. Can we just can we please just let that end? Because I don't want to be here anymore. Whereas the feminine loves to be here, doesn't want it to end. So when you choose a masculine energy that moves away from it, that wants it to end or creates a circumstance in which it is something other than a deeper expression of its truth, then when you become the energy of the masculine, you have to realize what you're evoking on the other side of you, which is either their withdrawal, if you're in the masculine, or a headbutt, two masculines, or a feeling of like, meh, neutrality. It's not good, it's not bad, but this just doesn't feel good. This doesn't feel good. I want to be here for this. What are we doing here? Just give me something instead of what feels like nothing. Can't receive what you're not, right? I think I've got my AirPods in, but I don't actually think I'm using them. They were connected to my computer. How about we take those up? Where was I? Okay, so that's option number one. You soothe, suppress, move away. Become more masculine, the one that wants to have it end rather than the one who wants to stay in it. Option number two. You learn the art of the movement of energy through your body in such a way that you can be with and train whatever wishes to move through your body in a way that is tolerable or manageable for you, so you can direct it like a torch. There's a whole lot of light and you offer it a beautiful container or silhouette in which to beam through. So you can intensify energy when you do this, and you can decide what you do with it and where that energy goes. So it's like having imagine a huge amount of diffuse light and you're like laser beaming into the direction. Yeah. So that looks like learning how to instead be like, oh my God, it's so much and it's everywhere and I don't know what to do with it and it's too intense, and the only thing I can do is when I feel like I'm being tossed in the storm of the ocean and I'm being drowned, the only thing I can do is not be here instead of that. What does it look like to stand in the middle of that vortex, of that tornado, of that ocean, and learn how to move it in your body and create a laser beam or a pinpoint gossamer thread to train the energy into something more purposeful and manageable? And then there would be option number three, which would be full force feminine, right? So masculine container that hones feminine light for a purpose as you learn you're not at the mercy of anything. And then the choice to be in your full feminine, which would be, what would it mean to feel as deeply as I could possibly step into, feel, not remove myself from, and be in for the next 10 seconds the truth of my anger, the truth of my heartbreak and pain. What sound would it make out of my body? What is a resonance that amplifies it? How would it move? What would it say? Just for 10 seconds. Because what happens when something is fully felt, it's fully free to be dissolved and it transmutes into something completely different. And so what happens is we have the initial feeling, but then we have all of these other feelings and deeper knowings that sit behind it, that this is just kind of sitting on top of. I want to say suffocating, but it's not exactly a nuanced truth. So when you move through I stay in my fear, I'm able to actually look at it and be with it, right? I mean, Brene Brown taught us that shame doesn't exist when it's in the light, only when it's in the dark. It's probably the same for every emotion. If we could be with our fear and fully feel our fear, if we could fully feel our heartbreak, if we could fully be with and feel our own pain in the way that we ask our partners to, they would be able to be that which you are seeking. Yeah. Nicole, yes, checking out something I did a lot. You've helped me learn to be with it. Thank you. It's a pleasure. Nicole, sounds so easy, yet when in it, not so. Learning to do this, and 10 seconds is better than no seconds. 100%, Nicole, 100%. Yeah, you know, I mean, this is the thing with any practice, right, is we can talk about it. This is why, if you're in any of my containers, I like there to be a lot of interaction, group coaching sessions, because we can become so addicted, like an information junkie, that we just exist in the space of the consciousness and the mind, and the practice of it doesn't become integrated nor masterful. Because it's what happens when philosophy or knowledge meets experience that you get wisdom, right? Experience without having anything to apply it to, pretty foolish. Wisdom and knowledge without any hard-won experiences and wisdom, useless, right? So, yes, I realize that it sounds easy to say, and fully appreciate that, because that's the point of being in practice, right? Is how do you make a declaration to be with the truest self, rather than entering something and expecting your body to deliver on something that's not its truth, perhaps like previous partners have with you or your parents. How do you train yourself to show up with the most authentic light that you have in this moment, and to feel the greatest truth, so that that clarity is not diminished and minimized? God. Guilty information junkie I was. Me too. I get it. I really get it. And it's exciting. And you just want to be like, give it all to me. Especially when we're first learning something. Totally. I get it. I really celebrate it because I think it's beautiful. But we just want to make sure that we're moving at a pace that we're actually integrating. Because or else it's just wasted, and you probably set up a whole lot of expectations that are not founded in any type of reality, right? This is why you want to be careful who you learn from and who you choose to have in your head, because do they have the same life vision and life setup that you have? I'm not interested in learning about conscious sexuality and relationship from someone who's not married yet and who doesn't have any kids, or who has their kids in care 24/7. That person can't help me. I need the person who understands and knows the realities and the constraints with which my life have, so that our interactions are meaningful and our practice is purposeful, not aspirational or naive. Hello, Bron. Totes info junkie too. I think you'll find those of us that are info junkies probably just have learning as a top value, which is beautiful, right? But that's why my feminine will always bring you down into it. That's why I'm interested in the places that we want to over like this, with information, with a giggle and a laugh. What other creative ways do women use? Moving faster, lots of words. And I'm like, let's come back here. And you're like, I don't want to. I know. I don't want to. I know. Yeah, learning 100% yourself. Yeah, totes, right? Like, I so get it. I think I've totally lost my train of track of what I was talking about. But I just think it's really important to choose very carefully who you are comparing yourself to, and who you're choosing to put up on a pedestal. Hopefully, if you've listened to me long enough, maybe you're doing a little bit more of conscious work than that. But unconsciously, we still do that. We still infatuate. We still minimize and over exaggerate and, you know, all the things. I'm just asking you in the scheme of that, when you're looking at someone who's very empowered in something, is to see that you're choosing them as a teacher, but do their values and life line up to yours in such a way that their wisdom, because they still have it, it's just, is that wisdom applicable for the life that you are choosing to lead, assuming that it's in alignment with a choice, a life you're choosing. Does that kind of make sense? Hey, Brom. So with the feminine, I hope that makes sense to you, that you've got 3 ways of moving with that when it comes to remembering that you're a water river wheel, continuously in motion. You go up and you come down and it comes in and it comes out and it comes in and it comes out. It's not that you have to cling onto it, hold onto it, clamp it down. Please don't leave me. I'm worried now that we've, you know, had one beautiful soul this morning who sat with me and we moved through all of the initial feelings, and then she was like, oh God, hello deep knowing. And then she was like, I'm scared it's going to leave the second I leave this, the second I kind of move, right? But the truth is, deep knowing was always there. It was just that this and this and this were clouding it, which is why you've got to feel, fully move what's behind it, what's underneath it, what's behind it, what's underneath it. Back to home. I don't think it's about shoving things into you. I think it's about removing the stuff that's in the way. I just think it's that we're not trained for. So how about we do that, hey? How about we remember we're a guitar body, and how do we play that music? How do we amplify it? How do we vibrate it rather than being so still? How do we make a goddamn sound? Women and sound. So afraid of their own voices. Any sound. I don't care what sound you make. Please make a pipsqueak of a sound. Sound. Just any sound. Sound that exists in your body that amplifies your experience. Play with it when you practice. So if you don't cultivate it, you will lose it. The feminine is just a muscle. And remember that we absolutely love to build track in our bodies, and our body remembers what we do regularly. That's how it becomes a habit. So you can train yourself into constructive habits, or you can train yourself into destructive habits. You're going to be training yourself either way. The point is, you just get to pick whether it's constructive and on the way, or it's destructive and it's off alignment with where you want to head, or the truth and integrity of the life you're here to live. But you always get to choose. So which muscle are you building? The one that goes out of alignment, or the one that stays in alignment? The one that resonates with truth and asks your body simply to be with its truth, or the one that asks it to be anything but its truth, something that's more convenient or more defined or rational or contained? Please be a contained woman. And I love learning, but I've realized it allows me to keep looking outside of myself, 100%. Yes, Amelia, thank you. That is why Honey Club is so amazing, consistent practice. And it's consistently a thing I have to return to, because even I know so many of you in there love information. I know! But I really wanted a place where we also got to integrate. I think you learn a heck ton through group coaching, and a place where you were forced, but more just had a space opened to actually integrate and practice, because otherwise life gets busy and we have all of the ways of not doing the thing, right? So Honey Club was the place in which I made sure that at least once a week you had access to the thing to integrate and to create change. And you would be absolutely astounded at the change you can create in a month. I love that you're all having a convo. So great. So you want to practice your feminine flow and your feminine energy, because what you practice, you keep fit, right? And what you don't practice just becomes a weakened muscle, and you have to build up your fitness again. Now, the truth is, his presence is going to waver. Your truth of energy is going to waver. We're human. So it's not so important the places that you stop or waver. What is important is that you recognize that that is what is happening. His presence is wavering. Your energy fluidity is wavering. If his presence is pretty shallow at the moment, so will your surrender be, because they're the same. You're just playing table tennis. That's going to happen, and that is okay. It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't have to mean anything. It doesn't mean anything other than the meaning you give to it. The way that I look at, I said to you in one of the lives, and someone asked what was my next practice. I'm not interested in a trajectory or in a linear movement. I'm interested in the places I stop, because the places I stop, hold back, bring constriction and tightness. The places I close up and close over have become fascinating to me, because they are a beginning of a story and a journey. They're not an end of one. So it doesn't matter that you stop or that you close or that your energy and surrender wavers. It doesn't matter if his presence becomes shallow before it's deep, and it does some of this as you're learning, and in humanity and in life circumstance, and particularly in COVID, good Lord, particularly in lockdown, that is irrelevant, because it's extraordinary circumstances, particularly right now. What matters is that you realize that's a beginning, not an end. Don't attach meaning to the closure. Only look at it, look at that. I'm going to employ my skill set to get me back to where I know my truth and integrity, fulfillment, heart, and alignment is. That's why we practice. We practice for when it's hard, that it's easier to call on that strength. When I need to run from the saber-toothed tiger, thank God I've trained myself into a level of fitness that I can. But if I've sat around drinking wine and eating bread and cheese and, slovenly, and then there's a saber-toothed tiger, it's probably going to eat me. Move it or lose it. Right? That's why you practice. When relationship is easeful, that is not practice. That's called the fruits of your labor. When it's easy is not the point of practice, and it's not the measure of it either. The fact that it's hard is the purpose. Because the greater the pain, the greater the revelation. The more it's blocked and locked up, the greater the capacity for expansion. If it's only a little bit hard, you only get a little bit of a lift. If it's a lot hard and you've clawed your way out of the dark, watch the light. They're equal. So every time you close or his presence wavers, or you show up with less than the truth of who you both are or could be, can be, know that you want to be, that is okay. You just take a breath and you employ all of the skill sets that you've been practicing until you find the one that works. It always used to fascinate me that when I was working in birth and in labours, I think I've said this to you before, I used to get the partners, or we'd go through this process of looking at all of the ways that when things got hard for her physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, blah, 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 and we came up with all these different skill sets. And I used to get the couple to work it out together and create a list that was literally like, I don't know, however many it was, 1 to 15 of things to try, or things that might work for her, because the feminine is, ever changing and moving. What worked yesterday won't necessarily work today. But usually we have sort of an MO that goes with each emotion. And I used to watch these men bless their cotton socks. The masculine loves a list and loves something that they have a degree of capacity to rise to and control over helping. And they used to stick these on the fridge or, on the wall or whatever the thing was. And I used to watch these men. It was mostly men. Sometimes it was women too. who, when their partner was struggling or got to the point of a struggle, we knew it was only short-lived. We knew that this struggle was expected, it was inevitable, we were always going to get here. It's not a problem that we're here because we have this skill set and we're just going to keep going till we find the one that works, because there will be one that works eventually. So you lose this sense of, I need this to be over, this is going to last forever, it's never going to end, and now I have to find ways to move away from it, right? Like at the beginning of this live. So I used to watch them literally start at point number 1 and work their way, literally point number 1, try it for a while, not working, 2, not working, 3, and they would just each time, and then it would come up again, I don't know, let's say 40 minutes later, boom, they're back at step number 1, and they would work their way down these lists until they found the one that worked. And there was always one that worked, even if by the time we've got through all of them, we've come back around to number 1 again, and now number 1 works, right? That's the feminine. So how did I get onto that? Was it training partners? Oh, so this is what happens when I go on a tangent. I forget where I started. It's the point of notes, Julie. Bron, this makes so much sense. After the first round of Queen School, I felt great. Then life happened. Then I realised I needed to come back to practice. And 2 weeks in a hotel while waiting for a house has been great practice, I bet. I can see where and how I've showed up less and then come back to practice and opening magic. I so love that you shared that, because that is what I do not want. Well, I mean, that is what I want, but I mean, what I don't want is for Queen School to be a fad, this thing that you radically transform and change, and you get so super high on how extraordinary the changes are from entering with one relationship and leaving with a completely different experience. And then you get out of, I mean, that's the purpose of having a container, isn't it? Is that when there's focus and energy flow and intention and movement, we tend to move things much quicker, particularly when talking about a gathering of women in which feminine energy then amplifies and increases. So the group dynamic is why it's easier to shift stuff, because the energy is increased to what you can practice on your own. That's why covens of witches would always practice in groups, because the energy of the many was greater collectively than the energy that you had access to as the one. So what I don't want is for you to come into this and then it's like, and then the music dies. What I want is for you to see, know, feel, hear, taste and touch a different version of reality for yourself and your relationship. But out of that, to gain a skill set that waters and feeds the garden of your relationship for the rest of your life. But it's an active process. You move it or you lose it, right? You cultivate it or the garden gets overrun with weeds. It doesn't matter what you're turning your attention to if you're not tending to the garden of that, tending to the garden of your heart, tending to the garden of your feminine, tending to the garden of your relationship. Wherever there's less focus, it will wither. That's what happens. The fact that it's withering isn't a problem, unless you want to attach meaning that it means something. It could just mean, oh shit, I need to come back into that. All right, let me pick it up again. And the more you do that, the faster it gets, right? Like, do you remember, I don't know, changing any habit with your babies from when they were little to however old they are now? And the first day you do anything, it feels like it takes forever and they're never going to get it. And then it speeds up until one day they're doing the thing. And you don't even think about the fact that they didn't used to take themselves to the toilet or didn't used to go to sleep on their own. It's the same thing. It's Queen School for life, and it's Queen School for life. This is what I'm realizing. You never graduate. It is for life. Yeah, 100%. 100%. Yeah, me too, right? I mean, I just think that is the lifelong practice, isn't it? I mean, at its very core, Tantra is the experience of yes. Of letting everything in, of being in relation and experiencing and feeling and receiving and transmuting everything. There's no part that's a no, ultimately. I mean, maybe simplistically, not ultimately. So what does it feel like to resonate and receive and say yes to this experience rather than no experience? You are wrong. Nobody, you are not allowed to feel that. Please change. You've got to be the change you wish to see in the world. So how do you first let yourself be that, and then let others witness that and hold that and receive that rather than being contained? Oh, Bron, I would love new queens to know that you will stop your practice, you will forget. But as you said, Jules, once you know, you can come back again and again and again. Yeah. Aw, thanks, Nicole. Thanks, Bron. Yeah, me too, right? There's still, this is why I just love being containers of women in relationship. And this is a two-way street, right? Even as you're remembering, there's a part of me that remembers it's like, yeah, it's really important. And it like pins it in the front of your mind, because what's front of mind is what you're focusing on empowering, right? Otherwise it slips to the back and it's like the spinning plate, someone spun off into the distance and you don't even know where it is anymore. Let alone keeping it nice and slick. So you are responsible for the flow of love through your body. The degree to which you are energy is the degree to which you evoke his presence. We learn the art of being able to maneuver yourself in and out of those flips. We learn the art of being able to evoke a response in our partner that previously we've said hasn't existed. We cultivate what it is to have feminine practice and also to understand what it is to be masculine, have a masculine wired nervous system and mind, and be able to move with the differences in a way that is mutually gifting and appreciative, rather than requiring one or other of you to be the same as the other in order for love to exist. Because remember, when you say, I need you to be the same, you're reducing your capacity for sexual polarity, because same, reduced capacity, difference, arc of electricity. Greater the difference, greater the arc of electricity, but both ways, right? I hate you. Oh my God, I love you. It's both. So you can choose to do that with a level of consciousness. You can choose to, I'm just all energy all of the time with absolutely no container, in which case you'll evoke a partner that is all container and absolutely no feeling. Or you can choose to flip yourself at will as feels most aligned, authentic, and nourishing to you, and therefore have both. I think particularly in COVID, particularly in lockdown, I think it's been really hard when we have spent so much time together that you need individuation and you need selfhood rather than samehood. Samehood, no attraction. Individualhood, greater attraction, right? Doing the things that light you up the most, appreciating those differences, loving the chemistry it creates, expanding your nervous system to roll with those differences and not make it mean he wins, I lose. She wins, I lose. Yeah, Bron. The degree of which you are energy is the degree of how he shows up. Yes, it is. All right, let me see if I've got anything else on here. Trust your relaxation and magnetic flow through your body and your heart just as much as you trust your mind, your goals, your vision, and your purpose. Just as much. Feminine is present moment, masculine is forward focus. So if you're always penetrating, forward focus, moving on, next thing, but what about this and this and this and this? And well, now I'm going to need to move into this, and I think it's been too long here, so I better move what's happening here so that, right? Anytime we're doing that, we're shifting ourselves out of the state of feeling and into the state of consciousness, in which case we reduce our capacity to feel, because when you leave the feminine is the body pleasure. When you leave into the brain, you reduce the body with a subtlety. Reduced, expanded, reduced, expanded. So if you make that trip, then don't expect sex to be incredible. because the feminine brings you down. If only I knew and had integrated back in March what I know now, how different life would be. But I trust this is all part of my journey. Meals, I love your transparency and integrity and honouring of just the finding of self. I love having the opportunity, and I realize the grace then perhaps most of you don't have, to see behind the walls of so many people's lives and relationships, and what a gift and a blessing that is. I love the ones that shake up the rules and change the way we think relationship is supposed to be or should be, and find a path to self-actualization, right? I think that was your goal last year, wasn't it? Wasn't that your word? That is through relationship, even when that looks different. I really enjoy that. I think it's amazing and courageous. Super courageous. So be that which you are seeking. If you are seeking to feel more, be in the energy of feeling. If you are seeking to think more, be in the energy of thinking, of leading, of penetrating. Right? If you are seeking to be desired, then be the energy of desire. If you are seeking to be nourished, then be the energy of nourishing for you. And then let that amplify and ripple out. Because when you're connected to your own feminine and life force, it's not like this, my precious, there's only a certain amount to give and there's not enough for you and you and you and you and you. No. The feminine is a wellspring that is full of so much energy. It never runs out. But if you stay in your masculine too long, you will begin to feel burnt out, dried out, run down, cranky as hell, like there is not enough to go around, so I now have to fight, claw, and protect the tiny precious resource I have left. Think about how in humanity we've done that across history in many different forms. So if you're seeking to be a nourishing force to your kids, to your family home, to your partner, to your friends, to your work, then the nourishment comes from in here and from your connection to the feminine. Oh God, I think my pegboard's about to fall down. I did not put it up very well this morning. Yeah, that's exactly where you're at now. Yeah. Oh, honey, I feel you. It is a hard place to be. It is. And you think you've got to do more and you haven't got energy to do any more. I really get that. So when that happens, just take a hot little moment. Carve out some sacred time for yourself. There it goes. It's quite ironic actually, because all I did was blue tack it up today. I did not remotely try and put it up properly. There's a lack of integrity because I put it up there going, maybe that's this is where my vision board's going to go. Maybe that's the inspiration I need to get it done, because we're doing it in, we're doing like a life process through Soul Driven Motherhood in Nourishing the Mother. And then we're doing a relationship and money focused one in Honey Club. And so I have all of my sheets and my worksheets, and I do the processes and share them with everyone and workshop them through the things that I do for myself. And I know, and I'd started this morning, but I know I'd been avoiding it a little bit. So I was like, I'll stick that up and then maybe I'll be inspired. So here we are talking about consciously carving out time, and my vision board, come on, Julie. Isn't that magnificent? Sandra, I've spent 2020 in the masculine, exhausted, trying to connect to feminine. I need nourishment. Yeah. 100%, mate. Especially for our frontline workers, right? Especially for those who are holding a lot of people and pain. especially if you're a practitioner, then you will have worked with a lot of really deep, hard stuff this year as everyone's sludge came up in COVID and lockdown and removal of all of the distractions, right? So you have to come back to your feminine. That's where I was going, was carving out space and time. So what you want to do is carve out a space, like I just think of it like a little pocket of time where I literally do a process of what is not working right now. These things, and I just go to town, and then often after I've verbal dialogued, often I'll be able to pull them down into something more concise. But you don't want to be trying to make it concise while you're diarizing. And then it's, what would I love it to be? And it's these things. What would I need to change or let go of in order to be the person for whom that's a reality? And I might need to let others hold me more in all the ways, rather than trying to always be the holder of myself as well as others. I know for me, it's coming back to a really solid breakfast and lunch. Because when I get busy, it's one of the first things that I let go of, but it doesn't serve me well. It's my masculine, not connected to hunger, to body, to, I just go straight up into consciousness. Could be 3 o'clock by the time I come around to pick the kids up and I haven't eaten all day, right? Because the feminine is the force of nourishment. The masculine will just keep you going because it's like, you've got this to do, keep going, you show up, The feminine's like, oh, let me bring life back into your body. Let me offer you the nourishment that you need to go and be the hero. So feminine, though, when we're trying to pattern interrupt and come back into it, needs structure. So this is where your masculine will serve. It's not another thing to do. Don't attach those two things. And it's no one else's job to do it for you. So don't sit here passively waiting for someone to save you, to do it for you, so that you don't have to do the hard work of changing your life, your beliefs, your structures, of doing it and allowing it for yourself. You can't ask someone else to give you what you're not willing to give yourself. You know that old saying, if someone can only love you as much as you love yourself, it's the same with all of it. It's a mirror. So don't get pissy at your partners for not seeing it, knowing it, anticipating it. They should have, blah, blah, blah. Why aren't they? Why am I always the one? It's an avoidance of self-responsibility. It is not in alignment, integrity, or a growing of emotional intelligence. But I say that with compassion and knowing, because I've certainly traversed that. And I can tell you it's way harder than the panacea to it, which is to work out and empower myself and then let my partner know the toolkit and what I need once I've worked it out for myself and got rid of really what's in the way of me having that, vibrating at that, being that, receiving that. I'm not waiting to be initiated by my partner. I'm not waiting for them to tell me what my body wants or needs, or to give me their permission. That's mine. I'm sovereign. That's why it's Queen's School. It's not Poverty Cinderella School. So you have to carve out the time to listen to what is not working, to work out what it is your heart truly desires. And then ask yourself, what do I need to let go of? What is the thickness, the blanket? What's in the way of me having that? What's in the way of me being the person for whom that's a reality? What do I have to let go? Because you're not a dam. You don't just keep filling up. You got to let go. Remember, you're a river. And let in. Let go, let in. Let go, let in. And you don't just let go without filling up. So what have I got to let go of? And then what would I need to be able to feel, receive, have those things? So for instance, I'll take my very benign, uninspiring example of, I know the first thing that goes for me is food, breakfast, and I'm still really good with dinners and snacks usually, but breakfast and lunch, the first thing that goes. But really, they're the two things that sustain my energy through the course of the day, that mean by the end of the day, when I'm wanting to be love and light with my partner, dictate really how much I've got left in my resonance, in my field. So have I listened to my body, and when she needs to rest, have I rested? Have I nourished her with quality food? Have I filled her with enough fluid that she's free to eliminate and let go and doesn't have to hold on to dry, gunky stuff? So I ask myself, okay, I know those things are a pillar of my well-being and my nourishment. And I know right now they're not happening in my current reality. So where do I consciously need to create the time, the space, and what does that need to look like in order for me to receive this reality? Okay. I'm actually going to, when I do my weekly meal plan salads or lunches or whatever I'm feeling like I want to have around. Usually, in summer it's usually salads. Make sure that I've actually put that on the shopping list so I have enough salads and things in the house, that's a possibility for me. Maybe I'll batch cook. So if you've read The 4-Hour Work Week, one of the things that I loved about that was actually it transformed the way that I cooked. So I realized it didn't take me any longer to cook 4 times a meal and then freeze 4 meals or 3 meals and eat 1 than it did to cook the 1 meal. So, oh my God, whose rule is that? The 80-20 rule. What is the 20% of your labor that yields the 80% of your results? Because it's no more than that. Can't think of it. Whoever's rule that is. So that's actually what I loved about that book, is I did like a cull of what is the 20% that's working, that's yielding me 80% of my results. How do I do more of that and less of the other stuff? Pareto is the one. So consciously carving out and getting real with yourself, and then going, right, so I need to change and have these things. I'm currently roasting extra veggies in our roast for exactly this reason. Lunches. Cindy, you've inspired me. I love it. I'm totally going to do that too. It's such a great idea. Such a great idea. And this is exactly what I'm struggling with. How do I be and show up and do all the things, keep my individuation and be centered, not thrown off by everyone around me, but also not ice queen everyone out and only focus on me. I'm burnt out and exhausted. Yeah, so it doesn't look like one or the other. It looks like tiny micro changes, remember? It looks like what is the 20% of what I could put in place that's going to yield me the 80% of results that I crave. Because when you work out how to create freedom for the self, and then you create freedom for others, which is what you've done there, right, in your masculine, then you get to bring in your feminine and have that be both. Remember, we compartmentalize and then we become fluid. Paratroopers, Sandra, what do you mean, paratroopers? Pareto principle. Thank you, Cindy. The 80-20 rule. Yeah. It's a cool one, isn't it? It's worth thinking about. So let's bring that back. Let me see if I can find the original question. Which was, I'm burnt out and exhausted and therefore getting like, my precious. Yeah. Which just means that's a sign for there's a lot going out and you're in your masculine. How do I consciously bring myself into pockets of my feminine so I may be reconnected? Because what is a hugely healthy oak tree can sometimes we've snipped those branches and cut those roots enough that we think it's the tiniest, thinnest little straw of a taproot. You never lose it, but it can feel like a taproot and there's not a lot of energy getting through. So how do I build more roots into that wellspring? How do I thicken that trunk so that I can bloom and build the branches? Oh, it was meant to be Pareto principle. Paratroopers is cool. Maybe that's how I will remember it from now on. So, your sexuality, your zing, your nourishment is not dependent on anyone else and is certainly not initiated by anyone else. And the only person in the way of receiving all of the love that you want to get is you. But how do you love yourself into more wholeness and roundness and soft-centered nourishment rather than whip yourself into it? Because if you're whipping yourself into it, you're in your masculine. I don't care, soldier, you just do that thing. There's a time and a place for that. And there's also a time and a place for, oh baby, come lie with me while I stroke you, you know? So what is the stroking that you need to come back into that wellspring? Be that which you are seeking. So I hope you're doing some sort of stock take of 2020 to plan your 2021. I hope that that includes what's working, what's not, what change I wish to seek in the world, and how do I become that? What do I have to let go? And what do I have to build in? Because you're always training a body memory, a cellular memory. And it's great to have it written down because you will forget and your presence will waver and your energy will waver, right? It doesn't matter that it wavers. It only matters that you have constructed a strong enough muscle and a toolkit in which to relocate it and find it and put it back in place again. And that gets faster and faster and faster the more you do it. That's a beautiful experience. That's empowerment, right? So I really hope you do that for yourself. And if you're feeling exhausted, that you realize you've just been too long in your masculine, how do I come back into feeling the wholesome deliciousness that exists in my body? And how do I move as that, be as that, create an altar to that, honor that in my day-to-day actions so that I may experience the larger growths in the month, 3 month, reconciliations. It's the daily actions that change that. So I would love you to come and join me in Queen School. We start on Thursday and it is 12 weeks and it is, yes, content heavy in terms of information. So if information junkie is gonna love it. But I also make sure there's a lot of Q&A group coaching and facilitation in that because we learn vicariously through the experiences of others. Because as a group comes together, what's going on for you is going on for me. It's a really beautiful mix this time, Queen School, of those that are in relationship and those that are single and wanting to create pattern change or call in a new lover that's more aligned with the vision they have for their heart or their world. So really hope and appreciate that this, hope and appreciate, I don't know if that's the right word I was looking for there, but I just want to do heart appreciation for you being here and for getting through all of this content. And I hope that you've got something beautiful out of it. And I really hope that it creates the next breadcrumb that leads you on to creating the experience of love and energy exchange that you want to have and your own empowerment so that you're not dependent on the world, on your pillow being fluffed right, on other people doing things that you have no control over. I would rather you learn how to create your own freedom rather than being trapped in a jail cell. So I hope that's what you get out of this. Oh, thanks, Nicole. Oh, Brooke, beautiful. I'll see you in there. Such a pleasure, Amelia. Such a pleasure. So I hope you really enjoyed Love Bites. Amazing. You can go back to this content anytime you want to come back to it. And I will drop the link for Queen School in case you're joining me on Thursday for 12 pretty incredible weeks. So thank you for being here. I will see you.